You're listening to the Decentralized Talk podcast, your crypto connection.
Decentralized Talk. Decentralized Talk.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to another outstanding episode of the ever-growing Decentralized Talk podcast. Today is our 8th episode, now in production, and we have a great one in store for you today. We got notable picks with a 3-on-3 fast break and an eye-opening interview with Demetrick Ferguson from the Bitcoin Podcast Network. We're talking crypto and strippers, and we're talking who's who in the digital asset space. As always, guys, we're going to follow up on who's winning the 2018 Coin of the Week and how our best crypto guesses are panning out to date. Always, listen up, guys. This is not investing advice. This is just our opinions. So please do your own research when investing in cryptocurrencies. Alrighty, guys, we're going to move on to our interview with Demetrick Ferguson from the Bitcoin Podcast Network. Their network, the Bitcoin Podcast Network, has just recently reached its 1 millionth listen. And so as a new and upcoming podcast ourselves, we wanted to pick the brain of Demetrick D and find out, what's going on in the crypto space. Where does he see it going? What's the latest news that he finds to be valuable? And who's who? So without further ado, Demetrick Ferguson. Alrighty, guys. Today we got Demetrick Ferguson, a.k.a. D, from the Bitcoin Podcast Network, immensely popular. They are juggernauts in the space, and we are very, very happy to have them on board with us today. Special note, Heston, D, and myself actually all went to the same high school. So pretty
Yeah. I still remember the, is that our symbol?
Yeah, that's it. That's
right?
it.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. That's very flattering. I happen to connect on a personal level with Juggernaut from the X-Men Marvel series, so I'm glad
One of the best. Yeah.
in the space. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on to the show. And just for our viewers who haven't had exposure to the Bitcoin Podcast Network and exposure to any of your other multitude of shows, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started and got into the crypto space.
All right. I can do that. The question I usually ask all my guests, so now I get a chance to answer it myself.
Hey, also, I wanted to ask you too, is this your first interview or?
No, this is maybe my fifth now. I'm getting a little more comfortable with it.
Oh man, we're like your ex-wife.
I'm still a rookie in the game. That's for sure. So let's see. Graduated from Texas Tech after a long stint as a part-time student. That felt great to leave Texas Tech University. Thank you for the education and the bill. And I started teaching at Killeen High down the street from our old high school. I was a math teacher teaching Algebra 2 and geometry to just a bunch of young people that love math, and they were so excited to learn math every day. That's not true. but I was teaching, and then right at the tail end of my first year teaching, my college roommate / best friend in life, Dr. Corey Petty, he's the co-host on the show. He called me up, and he's like, "Hey, man, I've been researching this thing. It's pretty cool. It's right kind of along the lines of what I research here at the university. You should check it out. It's called Bitcoin. It's like digital money. It's going to be bananas, man." And I told him, like, "Hey, cool story, bro, but if I wanted to play with Monopoly money, I'd just buy Monopoly." So he was
what
like,
a lot
"All
of
right,
people
man."
think it is, yeah.
Yeah, they really don't know.
Because you can't touch it.
And which is funny, right? Because you can't, I haven't touched any dollars in a long time. I use a debit card for everything.
Right.
So
I took some Monopoly money the other day.
So, but anyways, story keeps going, right? He shows it to me again, beginning of the year 2013. The price had gone from like $2 to like $28 or something like that. And he was like, hey, man, and I want to mention price because a lot of people try to deny the fact that they get involved for crypto for these really altruistic and pure reasons. But that price is tantalizing, right? So he's like, it went up from $2 to $28, and I was like, whoa, that's like it's like 100, that's like 10x right there. And he's like, yeah, man, I told you it's going to be a big deal. And then he explained a little bit more to me about the technology. He explained to me what a SHA-256 hashing algorithm is. He explained to me the probability of a collision, right? So the probability of someone basically hacking your private key is not possible, not physically possible because of the laws of thermodynamics. So I was like, oh, okay, now this is actually getting interesting. And he was like, yeah, man, just imagine you being able to send $1 to someone in China for 1/10 of a penny. And then imagine being able to send $1 million to someone in China for the same 1/10 of a penny. You don't think that has value? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think that has value. And he was like, okay, so you should, this is where you go to buy some. And this was early 2013. And I was like, yeah, but no, at the same time, because the whole monopoly money thing, it just still feels weird. And then he called me in October and he was like, hey, remember Bitcoin? Did you read the white paper? I was like, yeah, I read the white paper. It's cool as shit, man. I think you're onto something. He was like, yeah, so it's now $700 per Bitcoin. And I was like, it was just $30. And he was like, yeah, crazy, right? So how dumb do you feel right now? I was like,
yeah, how many of us would kill right now to get Bitcoin at $700?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You spend everything you own.
According to Bill Gates, a lot of people. Did you see what that scrub said?
I saw that.
Dude, go build Windows and give people sandwiches. Don't talk about things you don't know about. But anyways, I was like, okay, now I need to really do some more personal research. And I did. I tried to get my first Bitcoin through BTCE, which was a Russian exchange that got hella shut down last year because Russia's synonymous with Russian things.
Das Vidanya.
Das Vidanya. Vodka's good. That's for damn sure. But BTCE got shut down, and then Coinbase was the next best option. And, you know, it's tough at first. You give someone your email, and then they're asking for your bank account and routing number. And you're like, all right, man, this is where I take a jump off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk. It's funny you mentioned that, Heston. It is a risk. And being a school teacher at the time, you know, school teachers in America aren't necessarily known for their access to capital, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they don't get paid very much.
They're known for the opposite of that, honestly.
Yeah, you know, it seems like every single teacher you know is like, oh, you must have Mother Teresa's DNA, because I'm not doing that shit. But I was financially vulnerable, right? I was like, damn, I'm only ever gonna make this amount. I have that much debt. I'm pretty much a priest, and I just got to get really comfortable with that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well,
does that include celibacy?
We know priests be throwing it back. Come on, man.
Yeah.
They hit that wine more times than once a month. I'm just saying. Shout out to my pastor. I'm distracted. What was I saying? So I was financially vulnerable, right? I had saved up my little squirrel nuts of money, and I was like, you know what, might as well take a risk. So I did, and bought my first Bitcoin at $1,085. Watched that slowly erode down to $185 per Bitcoin. I was buying on the way down, so I dollar cost average. I've been dollar cost averaging for years.
That's the way to go.
Yep. This is for anybody listening. If you treat crypto as an investment, dollar cost average. And when I say investment, 5 to 10 years. This means in 5 years from now, you're going to look at how much crypto you have and make a decision whether to go into a different asset or keep it in crypto. That's an investment. Now, if you put your money in crypto and you're looking to sell half a Bitcoin for 10,000 Tron token, that is gambling. There's differences there. So
yeah, and if you look at the statistics too, it's like investing. They end up with bigger returns than the day traders. You know,
big time. So bought a little bit more when it bottomed at 185, and then it slowly started to come back up. And this whole time is funny. So let's get to how the show started, the podcast. So I bought my first in 2013. The show didn't start till 2015. Me being the kind of investor I am, I like to know what my money knows. So I spent the next 2 years obsessing, growing patchy beards, putting together shabby lesson plans. Like, hey, kids, graph a line. We did that yesterday, Mr. Ferguson. All right, practice makes perfect. All right. So, but I kind of obsessed to learn everything I could about Bitcoin and crypto, blockchain tech. I could try to take in as much as I could. It got to the point where Marcello, the co-host of the show, he was like, "Man, you're like an evangelist, man. It's like hard to talk to you. Like, I feel like you're gonna hand me a Bitcoin Bible, and try to convert me."
and the real question is, did you include Bitcoin in your curriculum?
Kinda. So there's few students that if they came to tutoring and hung out long enough, they received, I think it was about between 7 students, they have about $20,000 in Bitcoin right now.
What? You were giving out Bitcoin to your students?
Man, I was handing that shit out like trick or treat candy. And
it's like Paddington handing out Doge.
Yeah. So those 7 students, 3 have reached out to me and said like, "Whoa, Mr. Ferguson, you helped me pay my tuition. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You must be awesome. A baller right now." I'm like, that's not the case. But thank you, students.
That's not the case, but it's the case.
That's not, I just say I'm definitely not a teacher anymore. Remember that kid who made fun of me because trash guys get paid more than I did as a teacher? Well, that's not the case anymore.
Yep.
Stay in school, kids. So let's say, so he's like, "You're a little obsessed." And then I was like, "Okay, thank you for the feedback." But then he was like, "I think we should just make a podcast because like I'm tired of listening to it and your family's tired of listening to it. You should probably have an outlet. So let's make a podcast." And I was like, "All right, man, that's a good idea." It didn't start as a podcast. Our podcast originally started as a board game exchange using the blockchain. That was a terrible idea. But but I'm glad we just went with a podcast. And it's really funny. Like when you pull the trigger on an idea, it's usually kind of serendipitous. And like that night, he was like, he happens to be a web designer. And he was like, "All right, I'm going to make the website if you buy the microphones." And I was like, all right. I threw like $300 worth of podcast equipment into an Amazon shopping cart and hit click right in front of him. And he was like, "Well, damn, I didn't think you were going to do it." And I was like, "I'm just going to sit around and talk about it." And we did it. 3 days later, he had the website ready. By that time, Amazon did what Amazon did. We were ready to go. But this is the funniest part of the story, right? So in between the time Amazon getting me the equipment and him building the website, he calls my other friend Corey, and we all met playing Halo 2. Best game of all time. Sure. And he's like, "Hey, Corey, we got this podcast thing. It's going to be cool. We're going to talk about Bitcoin." And Corey's response to Cello was, "Sounds like a cool idea, man. I'll be your first listener." And Cello was like, "Wait." So Cello calls me. He's like, "I think Corey doesn't want to be on the show." And I was like, "What? That's not, he's the one who got me into this. I've been talking to him this whole time." Then I call Corey and I'm like, "Corey, we're doing a podcast. We want you to be our third host." And he was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in there. Can I curse on your show? Is that good?"
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. He's like, fuck yeah, I'm in there. And then I call Cello. I'm like, yo, Corey's in. And he's like, what the fuck, man? He just told me no. Like, I don't know, man. But we're doing this thing. And then from the first show, Cello was like, hey, everybody, I'm host number 1. And then I just said I'm host number 2. And Corey said he's host number 3. And that's just how that happened. So that's kind of the origin of the podcast. That's our background. Funny story. Cello met Corey in middle school before I met Corey in college 10 years later. So that's kind of like a weird, like, it's just always a weird moment. Like, him and Corey happened to be on some weird social media site before MySpace was even a thing as middle schoolers, which...
Friendster or something like
yeah,
that.
it was like Friendster, Zanga, I think is what it was called. I questioned.
I remember that.
Yeah, Zanga, I think. And they followed each other. And since Corey had the same gamer tag on Halo 2, when we were playing Halo one night, Cello was like, yo, Pettyho, is that Corey? And he was like, how do you know me? And I was like, I'm sitting there with my controller like, how do you guys know each other? This is really creepy. And then they go into this whole spiel about how they used to emo out on a social media site in middle school. So,
small world.
Yeah.
That's that. That's the origin story of the podcast. So.
Very cool.
Nice. So I noticed y'all do a lot of interviews. So far, who would you say has been y'all's most interesting interview?
Most interesting?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this in 3 categories. The most interesting was, I think his name is Bonner. He's a UFC fighter.
I hope it's pronounced Bonner.
I think it's Bonner. I think it's Bonner. And he has a strip club in Vegas, the VIP.
Okay, now I'm sure it's not pronounced Bonner.
No, it's definitely not. He probably has some great pickup lines. The reason it was most interesting is just because it was just fun. He was totally bought into the superficial side of this, which is like a lot of people are making a lot of money. And he was like, yeah, man, it's great. Like nothing is more therapeutic than going down to our club and scanning a stripper's butt cheek for a QR code and just having power thoughts at the bar. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. And he was like, and you get a discount if you spend Bitcoin on the ladies. And I was
okay, so did he answer the question as to how that happened? Because we just did a daily episode on that exact. I didn't know that was the same guy, but okay. So I'm just picturing, which of course I've never been to one of those places.
Yeah,
right. Of course, but I'm just picturing somebody going to one of those houses of ill repute and. Like busting their phone out, which by the way, typically I've heard you're not allowed to have a phone in a strip club, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, I'm waiting for like 3 seconds on somebody's ass, like while I wait for the phone to like recognize it and then like
true.
Go through. I mean, is that how it actually goes down?
I think that's the user story, my friend. I even asked the question. I was like, sometimes QR codes aren't easily readable. What if you need to kind of stretch out the butt cheek a little bit to get in there? And he was like, we'll allow it. Anyways, that was a fun interview. The most interesting interview was a guy by the name of Christian Saucier, which was so cool. We built a theme song for him, which was based off of Lethal Weapon, the movie. He loved it. You can go back to the episode and listen if you like. Christian Saucier was a CTO of a company called iNation. Since then, I think he's kind of dropped off the map, which probably means he made his Bitcoin millions and now he's on a boat somewhere. But he presented us with the idea of a dual revolution, which hasn't happened since the 19th century, so mid 1850s, somewhere there. And it's what happens when there's like a severe technological advancements happening like right after, just back to back to back to back. And on top of that, there's also a severe shift in some of our like most beholden institutions. right? Like for instance, right now, I think church, what's the word I'm looking for?
And you're talking about the Industrial Revolution, I guess, right?
The Industrial Revolution started that, and then since like that picked up, and there was like advancement after advancement after advancement. You obviously have this huge philosophical shift amongst the people and how things should work. And I think we're rapidly approaching another one of those industrial revolutions where, I mean, shit, last year I was witnessing on stage a computer pay a robot to move with Ether. And I was like, crap, that's blowing my mind right now.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So now we're going to have robots paying robots to do work? So robots are going to own businesses now? So like, that's a whole new...
So again, I hate to stay on the stripper thing, but this sounds an awful lot like robot.
Let's see where your head's at.
Yeah, I mean, I got one robot paying another robot to move. I mean, these are like, do it slowly.
Harder.
More rotation.
Zero, zero, zero. Instead of never mind. All right.
There's no telling where that goes. But to me, that means that, and then you get on YouTube and you see, what's the name of that company building those scary ass killed human robots?
Hanson Robotics.
Yeah. Like you get on there and you see robots doing backflips off of desks and you're like, okay, cool. So we might as well just hang this humanity thing up because it's a wrap pretty soon.
Right?
or we got to merge. merge. I need to be at least 3/4 cyborg.
And it's go ahead.
We did a whole episode on AI and stuff, and like Sophia, you know who Sophia is? She's one of those Hanson Robotics
I don't
AI robot things. But she's a citizen. She's legally a citizen, and she's a robot. But she's on the development team of a cryptocurrency. It's the Singularity Net, and they're basically trying to like connect all AI together. But it might as well just be called Skynet, honestly. It's creepy stuff.
Anybody I talk to like longer than an hour about the Ethereum network, they're like, "Oh, so you bought Skynet? You bought into Skynet?" And I'm like, I guess. I don't know, but I'd rather own a little bit of Skynet before they eradicate me.
Right? That's exactly what I say. Like, why not get a piece of it before they take over?
Yeah, then not.
Maybe you'll be spared for a little bit or something.
Yeah.
So what I was curious, man, is like, so you got into crypto, pretty early. And then you said you started the podcast around 2015. Like specifically in the podcast, like when did you decide like, okay, this isn't going to be just like a little side project and stuff. I'm going to kind of really take this and run with it. And, we're going to do this full on 100%.
It was, so you're right. Like, and that happened a little bit, and that happened like early summer last year is when we started to see that this could be more than a hobby. It was a hobby for so long that we all loved so much. I used it as a way to decompress. You go teach a bunch of high schoolers and they're calling you all sorts of names that like back in my day, a teacher would be totally justified for like at least a choke or something like
minimum choke, minimum one choke.
But nowadays it's like, oh, I guess you could just talk to your teacher however you wish. So I use it as like, I could decompress a little bit, learn at the same time. And at the beginning of last year, when our numbers started to moon, for lack of a better word, we were like, whoa, this could be more than a hobby. Let's just keep making an awesome show and let's see how far it goes. And now I left my job last month to do it full time. And we're on the brink of slowly but surely allowing all three of us to leave our jobs to turn it into something that's more of like a media corner of this whole crypto industry that's independently owned. Like CoinDesk is great, but Digital Currency Group owns them, and whatever Digital Currency Group wants them to say, they will say. That's
Yeah,
the bottom
they
line.
remind me a lot of mass media. You know, they're just gonna push whatever agenda they got going on at the moment. You know.
Exactly. And Cointelegraph has been that way pretty much like transparently from the beginning. Like you can
Exactly.
see it on their website. They're like sponsored, 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 sponsored. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And so we kind of maintain our authenticity by having you can sponsor our show if we think it's an okay sponsor. And we have a separate show called Announcements that is a featured interview. So like an ICO company or somebody doing a project in the crypto space wants access to a concentrated audience, we allow them to feature themselves on that show. And we keep that separate from all our other shows.
Okay.
Right. And since then, we've kind of treated it just a little more seriously. Like we have a brand, we want to, get ourselves out there as like an authentic, independent resource, and it's not always going to be heavy. Like they removed an apostrophe in the Solidity programming code, and now they could do so many things because they removed that apostrophe. It's more like, hey man, we're going to have fun. We're going to present you with information as we see it. It's cool. And, that's that.
Yeah, I love that. So go ahead, Esther.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what we're trying to do is just like there's so many people out there, the majority of people out there just really don't understand all this stuff. And the more people that we can get to learn, because not just about the price. I mean, the price is great, but it can just change so many industries. And so the more people that can learn about this whole space of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all that, it's better for everybody, honestly. And so that's what we try to do is just, teach some people something.
You're absolutely right. Before you go, Brandon, I wanted to touch on that. Like my co-host Corey has this great speech that he gives now as he's going out into public more, called The Social Implications of a Blockchain Infrastructure. And it directly implies that the individuals had to be more responsible than they've ever been in the past 10 years, right?
Exactly.
True.
We've slowly peeled away responsibility on almost all aspects of our life, even to the point now, I experienced this as a teacher, is like the students expect you to peel off knowledge and hand it to them. And the act of learning and the act of embracing a new topic is not their responsibility. It's my responsibility to make it cool and get passionate and just peel a little bit of that off and hand it to them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't have a bucket of knowledge that I'm trying to get you guys excited about this stuff up here on my whiteboard.
Yeah.
And so, even with banking, right? Like it just blows my mind. I asked my brother, like, hey, how do you log on to your online banking account? He's like, I usually forget my password and just recover it and go in there and do it.
Right.
And I'm like, holy cow. And then, so we just keep ushering off responsibility. But in a blockchain infrastructure, responsibility is key, and knowing where your private key, how it's there, what it means, knowing the different assets that you own and what they do and how they could possibly interact together, knowing why the Bitcoin blockchain is slow or why CryptoKitties is causing my Ether transaction to slow down. Like those are things you just kind of have to know. And the proliferation of a blockchain infrastructure means that people are going to have to be responsible again.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of responsibility in the space, who is it that, as a podcaster, as an experienced podcaster in the crypto space, who is it that you look up to as a person who you think is probably the most responsible influencer in the space?
Andreas Antonopoulos, hands down. That dude, if this were the time where wearing togas was cool, I'd have a toga with like his initials on it, and I'd be walking around right behind him. Like, and if anybody said anything bad to him, I'd be like his bodyguard. Like, hey, you need to relax or get out of here or change your toga because, that guy, one, he was a security expert back in the 80s. I mean, he was the guy like back in the early 80s that was like, hey guys, email is cool. And everybody was like, no, it's not. I got envelopes, bruh.
What is this?
I got
and-
envelopes. They work just fine. I got this whole stamp game down. Like, give it a lick, slap it on there. We're good to go. We don't need electronic mail. You're dumb. So he's been working on internet security that long. And when he speaks to these things, it's like it doesn't matter who he's talking to. He can find an analogy that fits the situation. And he's putting in work. Like he's got mastering Bitcoin. He's got 2 versions of it, multiple language. He's got mastering Ethereum coming out. He literally dropped everything to travel the world and just educate people on Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And that's all he does. He did it to the point where he was broke and in debt. And just recently, at the end of last year, the community paid him back for all he had given to the community. Right. I think you guys are familiar with that story, right? Like he said he was in debt, and Roger Ver, being Roger Ver, was like, "Oh, if you manage your money better, you wouldn't be in debt. How can you possibly be in debt being in Bitcoin?" And Andreas Antonopoulos was basically, I'm not a piece of garbage like you. And I've been trying to. By the way, Roger Ver is coming on my show soon, and I've done a pretty good job of letting the public know I don't care for him very much.
Well, don't worry, he's not going to listen to this.
So
I mean, I think what sets Roger Ver apart from Andreas is like Andreas is genuine in, that he's trying to increase people's knowledge of Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Roger Ver has ulterior motives, and he pushes Bitcoin Cash like he's just the main cheerleader for it. So
big time.
I was going to ask you about Bitcoin Cash, but it looks like we may already know how you feel about it.
No. Go ahead.
No.
I actually have an interesting theory about it, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to let you finish your thought if you want to go ahead where you were at.
I kind of lost my train of thought. So I guess that's why I'm good at podcasting. I just kind of
look. So I think just to pick it back up real quick. I think it speaks to that big dichotomy within the crypto space, right? There are people that are coming in hardcore from a finance perspective, big money, big guns, everything towards making money, and there's another group of people that is big guns, everything towards ideology. Everybody wants to grow this thing that's going to change the world. And there's not a whole lot in the middle. People are very, very, let me do some technical analysis and look at a graph, and I need to know the price. And some people are very much, dude, I'm never selling this shit I'm not selling this shit until my kids go to college. Also, for anybody that can hear that, they're like, I guess they're building a skyscraper in my backyard. So that is the sound that you hear.
That means your property value is going up, my friend.
Right.
Keep that house.
And sounds like they're doing all construction in reverse too. He is killing those rear view mirrors right now.
Give that tractor driver a job.
Super skilled.
You're absolutely right, man. I think what you just hit on, Brandon, is that we've now developed a new. If you look at the community as kind of like planet Earth, we got the core, we got the mantle, the crust. We're developing the mantle now. The core is those like the people that bought in at a point where they can afford to hodl, plus these devs, which are some of the most psycho geniuses. Like, if you've never had the opportunity to sit in a conversation with like devs as they're talking about what they're trying to build, it's like you get a glimpse into the future. It is just mad. Go to a developers conference, everyone. If you're remotely interested in this stuff, not just as an investment, go spend the money, travel, go to a developers conference, and just listen to what is buzzing. Like, you're just witnessing the future. So that's the core, right? That's where all the energy is coming from. The mantle now is these traders and this, what I've called is core speculation, which is they're basically dependent upon a price or value for cryptocurrency. And they're also depending upon its volatility. But by building a market and making a market predicated on that speculation, you're building the foundation for a crust. And we all know what the crust of the earth looks like. It's pretty awesome. Like planes, fucking skyscrapers going on in Brandon's backyard. A lot of magic going on the crust. Right. So I think that's what's happening is we had this core, and now we have a mantle, not necessarily a dichotomy, but just like another layer on top of this, whatever the heck we're building here.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. I mean, I still think we're years away from like mass adoption, but
Oh yeah,
you know, it's neat to be in the space right now.
it is. We're some years. I think we're this market is going to be officially mature and made by 2022. I think by then it's going to be there's going to be such a vernacular built around this stuff that there's going to be college courses and college degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I totally
as
think the same thing.
As a teacher, we're talking about cryptocurrency. We're talking about the future. Where do you see? So for my kids, so I got 2 sets of twins. I got one set they're 2.5 years old, and another set that's like 8 weeks old.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What space do I put them into? I mean, it's got to be STEM. I'm definitely going to put them into a STEM program. But should they, are you seeing the future more in a computer engineering, or do you see it more as a robotics, or where's going to be the hot issue like tech was, computer programming was when we were growing up?
I think from that aspect, STEM is definitely a great choice. The arts is another choice. So when we were talking earlier, we were talking about what it's not that there's not going to be jobs for people. It's there's going to be no point in having the people do the jobs because there's either software or some bot that's doing it better than they can. Right. So the beautiful thing about crypto is it's demanding that we reassess what we think valuable is. And I think that goes back to that dual revolution, is that people that are uniquely human, people that have these unique talents, not just from a computer programming is necessary, like just to exist. I think like kids know it, and they're going to have to, it's just going to be like a different language, right? Yep. There's going to be, you take English class, you go to Spanish class maybe, and then you go to computer programming class, and that's just what you do. And that's just how that works. But something in the arts, I would recommend like learning an artistic language, music, painting, the violin, like that stuff that kids typically do is going to become very, very, very important in the near future. So like them cutting back on all these programs, these music programs for kids and stuff, and these art programs for kids, that's going to swing right back around real quick, real fast.
I hope so.
Wait, so why do you just to figure it out? So why do you see the arts becoming such a big deal? You're saying that because we're going to create such a society of leisure time that the arts are going to be where people end up going? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that these crypto tokens and these things, like being able to tokenize your existence or like have a little avatar of yourself that's going around the internet collecting value in the form of either tokens or actual, currency, that's going to be a reality, right? And what's going to make your token stand out, your avatar, your thing stand out on the internet? It's going to have to be uniquely different. It's going to have some sort of thing that differentiates it from the herd, just like all competition.
Or
yeah, that's cool.
Is driving people around, picking up cab fares.
Yeah,
the Bitcoin, and then goes and buys another car.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy future that we're about to go into, but it's a kind of real future, and it goes to the productivity point that you touched on, Brandon. Is that what's funny is I just stopped a job as a business consultant, a business management consultant. I did that for 1.5 years after I was teaching. Managers, I had so many clients, they didn't know how to use like basic productivity tools. And I'm just like, man, these tools I've been using Microsoft Office since I was like 5. You don't know how to use Microsoft Word? This is crazy. And I just noticed like, oh, you're in your late 40s. You probably don't know how to use Microsoft Office. Right. So as now we got young kids that can use fucking Google Ads. There's 10-year-olds that can use Google Ads better than I
Right.
can, And so as humanity starts to fully actualize those productivity tools, what the hell do we do at that time, right? Like a 40-hour work week grants us 300% more productivity than we had 20 years prior. Okay, let's cut that work week down. Why we don't need to be working that much. Like, let's make it a 35-hour work week or a 30-hour work week. And what do we do with that extra time? I don't know. Hang out with our families, take up a hobby, do something uniquely human.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming that way automatically. I mean, I think it's already like because of the changes that we've been talking about, it's already happening. The decentralization of your economy, your personal economy. You have a podcast, you have a YouTube channel, you have whatever it is that somebody can do literally autonomously. You get a small investment on a little bit of equipment, and you can provide a service or an entertainment or an information value to people, which they can reward you individually with these tokens. It's going to be crazy.
It's gonna be crazy awesome and scary for some people. But it's going to be crazy awesome. And when something happens that drastically, you get these strange anomalies. Like, what are we doing with more time now? It seems like a great majority up in the Northeast is having a great time with opium. Like, that's affecting almost everyone's lives in the U.S. right now, because like there's people that have all this leisure time because something or someone has uprooted that time that they'd spend working, and it's like they don't have a hobby. It seems like their hobby is opium or something, but that's affecting everyone. Like, and that's a new emergent property of civilization now. It's like, heck, hordes of people are going to turn to drugs when they have free time. We didn't see this coming. We should have.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to personal responsibility, though. If that's how you want to spend your free time, then that's how you're going to do it. If you want to spend your free time being creative and creating something, then that's how you're going to do it too.
Absolutely.
So learn how to sing and dance, motherfuckers.
Learn how to sing and dance. Learn STEM. Make sure your kids are in STEM.
Oh yeah,
because we ourselves live in a nation built on mathematics and science and technology. And like, if someone asked me how an iPhone worked, I would sprint away from that conversation faster than I possibly could imagine. And they're like, what's the? I remember, this is a funny story. My co-host Corey, when we were in school, he had an entire whiteboard for his wall. He was a physics student, and from the top left to the bottom right was an equation. And I was like, what are you doing, man? We're trying to play Halo. And he's like, oh, that's how a TV works. And I was like, what? I didn't need to know that. I just know power button on. That's all I need to know. So you guys should probably have Corey on, by the way.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, we'd love to. Yeah.
And Shello, all of us. We'd love to get him on. But yeah, I guess that's a long way to answer your question, Brandon. Is the arts and the sciences are going to be really, really popular.
I forgot the question at this point. One question I did want to ask. Well, it's kind of a two-part question. First of all, Bcash or Bitcoin, and second, how do you feel about like centralized coins like Ripple or what China Bank is trying to do? Those that aren't that are kind of anti-cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so you mean like Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin?
I mean, yeah. Just what's your opinion on Bitcoin Cash and versus Bitcoin?
I think so. Here's a nugget of history. I at one point thought larger blocks was the solution.
I did too.
I thought I was in Gavin's camp. And I was like, yeah, man, just seems very obvious. We should just make the door bigger and more people can get through.
Yeah.
But then you got to make the door bigger again and again and again.
Yeah.
And
that's
again.
What I say. It's a Band-Aid. That's how I,
Yep. Kicking the can.
Yep.
It's been putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. So I has changed. I don't think Bitcoin Cash is a solid play to scale. I do I can see it right now in this little snapshot of cryptocurrency history as an existence of like there's digital gold and there's digital cash. And I know Dash is a thing, digital cash makes sense, whatever.
Yeah.
But they both exist and you can't deny that, right? Like my brother-in-law is calling me at 2 a.m. because he's like, hey man, I just put a bunch of money in Bitcoin, but I think I accidentally bought this Bitcoin Cash thing. And I'm like, oh shit.
That's the thing that so many people are getting duped. They're getting confused, and Roger Ver ain't making it any easier because he's like, don't call it B Cash, it's Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, there's a reason he wants to be called that because it confuses people.
Yeah, and it's really confusing. And right now we can't deny the fact that they both exist, and the market hasn't fixed the problem yet. And if it doesn't, then that's just going to be that. As far as from a branding aspect, Bitcoin is winning and will win, in my opinion. And so long as SegWit adoption continues, and it went from 17%. It was 15% 2 weeks ago. It's at 30% as of this morning. That's 100%. If it does that again, then we've got enough data to say that okay, that's exponential.
Mm-hmm.
And it holds. SegWit adoption does essentially double the block size. So almost doubles it. Yeah, it's difficult. But would you want something as important as scaling to be easy? I don't think so, right? Like
Exactly.
No, plus it gives me time to get more fiat so that I can buy more Bitcoin.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think SegWit is the better option. I think that a Lightning network is going to push us closer to you're starting to see banks put out a narrative now, which is really funny. It's like, oh, you can't buy Bitcoin anymore with our stuff, not our credit lines.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're including it in their investor prospectuses, like Bitcoin is a threat, and we might need to eliminate this threat. But
it's definitely a threat, but not a threat to us.
Yeah,
they should eliminate it just like China did.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Exactly.
They're gonna do great.
If anything, they need to go to China and be like, "Hey, how's that going?" And they're gonna be like, "No,
we fucked up.
It was a bad idea." I think they're trying to do what banks do. They're like position themselves to profit from something that they can't stop.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I think JP Morgan was the first one to do it. He shit all over Bitcoin, and then I think by many sources, him and a lot of his buddies went in there and scooped a bunch up in that dip.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Just like a true businessman.
They back Circle, or Circle's a subsidiary of them or something.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs.
Sachs, not JP Morgan.
Yeah.
Right.
Goldman Sachs is actually going hard in the paint on crypto, and they're the most quiet, which is like they're like
Right.
I'm not saying anything, but they backed Coinbase. They backed, I think, a little bit of Anderson Horowitz Ventures, and they backed Circle many moons ago. Circle
just bought Poloniex too.
Yeah.
Circle's one of the number one exchanges on the planet, and they don't make a word. They don't make a sound. They just like, just gonna make all this money. Well, and they obviously made enough to buy a Poloniex outright because everyone knows Poloniex is like run by 5 dudes in a garage, and they need to be a little bit more professional if they're gonna be handling that much value. So it's what's funny is someone like highlighted into the picture, and it was like the real reason Poloniex was bought is so the SEC wouldn't bother the 5 guys in their garage, something like that. But there's 2 parts to that question, right? There's the Bitcoin Bcash thing.
Oh yeah, and how do you feel about Ripple and other like centralized currencies?
Ugh. Long term, if we take this thing out to the long tail, they're not gonna. No, it's not gonna work. One, I don't even understand Ripple, and people try to help me understand it, and I don't understand why there's 2 entities. There's Ripple Labs, and then there's Ripple the token.
Mm-hmm.
Ripple Labs seems to be what they're selling to these companies, as a technology to basically replace Swift, which is cool because Swift sucks.
Yeah.
I get that. But why is everyone pouring money into this token that's unrelated to the Ripple Labs? That I don't get. Now, what I do get is that the 4 guys heading up Ripple Labs are substantially like competent enough to do what they're doing very well. I don't think a centralized blockchain makes any sense at all. It's like just have a Google sheet.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Now, my co-host disagrees with me on this, and he'll always disagree with me on this. He thinks it's a pendulum, right? There's public blockchains out here, and the pendulum will swing to like private blockchains. And then when we finally figure all this out, it'll rest like pendulums always do. And there will be federated blockchains that make perfect sense because of the sensitivity of the data they're pushing around. And then these public blockchains that push everything around really, really, really fast. And that pendulum that's in the middle is going to be the interoperability that allows them to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So I say if you're going to get behind a centralized token, you've introduced a new level of your own personal research is who in the hell is running it and can they run it? And that's it, right? So I think if we bring it to the analogy of the intranets versus internets, we obviously know which one won that out. But intranets still exist. If you go to a bank right now and you work there, they probably have like some sort of network that's a closed network that only the banks can use, right? So I think private centralized chains will exist. I don't think they're going to be as valuable as public chains. So,
yep, that's kind of in line with how I see it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Well, I was wondering too. Like we were talking about, like as people have more leisure time and people don't want to make their own decisions. Is there an opportunity in the space for you? Because we're talking about personal responsibility. Is there an opportunity in the space for someone to integrate a blockchain and something that figures it out for you? That's what I'm kind of waiting on from the mass adoption perspective. Somebody that takes that personal responsibility off of people's shoulders, not because I want it from any kind of perspective, but that's what I think is going to be the big blow up for the space, is that when somebody really puts together a working product that allows you to have the security of the blockchain and does it for you.
Honestly, I think that depends on the users. It depends on the users and what they're comfortable with. And
once we get to the crust phase in the Earth mantle analogy.
Yeah, my random ass theory that I made up just now.
No, I love it.
You're absolutely right. I think that's gonna. You know what? I think yes. I think there's going to have to be, honestly, because there's too much now that happens that people have no idea how or why it works. It just works, and there's really no point in
click.
Yeah, there's no point in figuring it out. I do think that we have to introduce some level of learning so they at least know what that layer of interoperability is doing, right? They at least know, like, okay, this thing is managing my private keys, or this thing is managing my keys like this. Got it. Got it.
See, I'm waiting for people to start worshiping it. Like literally, they're going to start learning less and less and less about it, and then just somebody's going to tell them it's God, and then they start going, "Oh, okay, well, praise Monero."
Andreas did say recently. I saw a tweet. He's like, "Now you have to teach your kids the birds and the bees, but then you also have to teach them about the private keys."
That's good.
Yeah. That's the reality that we live in right now. So it's there's always going to be that like mystery around things that are significant technological leaps. Always have that like mystery, and not everyone's going to figure it out. But if they can use it, then it really won't matter. And I think it's up to us to decide what it looks like and how people interact with it. So,
well, that's very well said. And man, I appreciate you guys. Or I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're a busy guy, so it means a lot to have you on here and to be able to talk to you. And we just wanted to say thank you. And if you can, man, tell everybody how they can reach out to you and connect with you out there if they want to get a hold of you.
oh, I get to shameless plug time. This is cool. I always like this time. So if you would like to reach me, you can go to thebitcoinpodcast.com and go to our Slack channel and say, hey, Fergalotti, what's up? And I'll be like, hey, what's up, man? I spend a lot of time in our Slack because I love our community. It's just great to hang out with those guys. That's pretty much where you'll find me. You'll also find me. I'm now the chief strategy officer of Block Edge Capital. It is basically a hedge fund, digital assets management fund is what we're trying to do there at Block Edge Capital. Our first product that we're launching is the River token. You can check that out. The Rhythm token. Our chat room is called River. Our token is called Rhythm.
Both of them flow, so that's a easy.
You got it. You got it. So rhythm.network is what you can go take a look at what we're building with Block Edge Capital. I just joined that team because Jason Jenkins has a show on my network called Buy or Sell. What the hell? And his trading expertise is like, he actually was a trader before trading was cool. It's very hipster to say. But he traded like bonds, and he specializes in trading bear markets, which is something every trader looks like a genius if they put in $10 and make 100 off of some random token, right? The real traders the real traders are the ones that make money when things aren't looking great, like what's happened in the past month and a half or so, or month. So he's an excellent trader. They brought me on there at Block Edge Capital. You can go to blockedgecapital.com, check it out. JenkinsRiskManagement.com. This is where I'm hanging out. Other than that, you can email us, thebitcoinpodcast@gmail.com, and just hook us up with some knowledge if you want to. That's how you reach out to me. So,
love it, man. Well, we appreciate it. It's good to have a Harker Heights night in the house here, and it's cool.
Thanks for having me. I love to come back on, like whenever.
Man, we'll have to get the whole crew on.
You should. That'd be a great show. Thanks for having me. It was awesome talking with you guys.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks again for sticking around for the interview. That was Demetrick Ferguson from the Bitcoin Podcast Network. We really appreciate every one of those guys out there. Appreciate D, especially for spending some time with us today. All right, guys. Now it's time for the 3-on-3 fast break. That's where each week we pick 3 coins from the 300 level market cap, and we make our pitch for that coin. Hesto, what's your coin of the day?
All right, so this week I have picked La Token.
Some people have called it LA Token, but I did watch an interview with the CEO, and as far as I know, he called it La Token. So that's what I'm going to go with. Basically, what La Token is trying to accomplish is they are trying to tokenize real-world assets. Okay, so one problem today is, say you have $50 and you want to invest in Apple. Well, you can't do that. You can't invest in a fraction of a stock. So La Token allows you the ability to do it. Basically, how it works is they create their own marketplace where you can tokenize all sorts of real-world assets, from real estate to traditional stocks, to oil, to precious metals like gold and silver, to fine art. I mean, all sorts of things. Basically, any kind of real-world asset that you can invest in, La Token is trying to tokenize that. How they do that is, say you own share of Apple, and currently you can trade Apple on the Latoken marketplace right now. They have, I think, Apple, Netflix, a few other ones, but they do have a working product, which is good. So say you have a share of Apple and you are willing to let that go in exchange for Latoken. Then somebody with Latoken would pay you Latoken for, say, a fraction of a quarter of an Apple share. So you would give them a quarter of an Apple share. They would give you however many Latokens that's worth at the time. And what that does is stabilize the coin because it's backed by a real world asset. So there's a
wait. How do you give somebody the quarter Apple?
Don't be asking questions.
Well, no, I just don't want you to say somebody's going to give you a quarter Apple thing on the thing, and then
that's honestly a great question, and that's I was talking about this earlier, and that's a question that came up, and we don't know because another thing is, say you have a painting. How are you supposed to sell a fraction of a painting? If I want to sell a third of a,
I mean, that's easy. Scissors.
Yeah, right. Or a fraction of a property in real estate. How do you fractionize that? I don't really know. I really don't know. And maybe when we get the CEO on here, we can ask him. But until then, I don't know. I haven't found a good explanation of how they fractionize certain things. So I'm not completely sold on it. I think the idea is great, but how they're going to implement it is I don't know, confusing. There's a lot of questions that I have.
I tell you, my coin for the 3-on-3 fast break would be a great way to set up that contract. So just a lead in for me later, which it's going to sound a lot better for Agrello.
Yeah, well, I think, but it's crazy that it seems like the Achilles heel of this coin is also the problem that it's solving specifically.
Well, I think the Achilles heel of this coin is it relies so much on adoption because say that they can fractionize these assets, right? They can fractionize fraction of a Netflix stock or something like that. The person that has the Netflix stock, they have to believe in Latoken enough to sell their Netflix stock for Latoken in hopes that it's going to go up, because then they'll have the Latoken and they can exchange it on another exchange. But if Latoken doesn't have adoption, it's never going to work. It has to take off.
What happens if
it falls flat on its face?
What happens if your Netflix stocks, you buy a quarter of a Netflix stock and it starts to boom, but like you said, the adoption is low on Latoken, and then just the coin value itself, Latoken value, falls based on its own market susceptibility. Then, I mean, so you're kind of like the third partying,
not the investor, but the person that is selling the portion of their real world asset is the one that's going to lose money there, because they're selling the token, but are they selling it for cash? If that's the case, then if you're selling a portion of your painting and the token price is going down and you're selling it for the token, then you're getting the token. So there's dual risk there, but usually where there's high risk, there's also high reward. So
I think what this is, it's a perfect example of why we do on these 3-on-3 fast breaks, because these are tokens that are not well known. These coins in a 300 market cap, and Latoken is one that I did research months ago when they were doing their ICO, and I thought the idea was really, really interesting. And then the more I read about it, I see little holes in their plan here and there. And now they do have a working product, but I haven't used it, so I don't actually know how that works, how you buy a portion of Apple share. But I do know that they're trading it, so there has to be a way that they're implementing it. But that's why I think this 3-on-3 fast break is so great, is because we get to look at coins that aren't in the mainstream, and we kind of get to see holes in their story, or ask
definitely, for sure,
that haven't really been asked because they're not in the mainstream. Everybody knows Bitcoin, everybody knows everything about Bitcoin and scalability and all this, but these coins that nobody's heard of
a lot of people aren't asking these questions, and that's why I think these low market cap coins are interesting to look at.
That's a great point. And so for anybody out there who's listening to the podcast right now, if you have questions about these or something that we're reading from the coin or something that we're presenting that the coin presents to us, right, or the token presents to us, if you have questions about it, leave them in the comments and we'll figure it out. We'll do the research on it and get it solved for you. No problem.
I will say that their thought process for making the coin stable seems sound in my eyes.
That's one thing I noticed too. I do think that is one of their strong points because they are trying to keep a stable coin, and you see a lot of coins out there that are trying to be stable. Maker coin is one that comes to mind, and to have a stable coin, you have to have something backing it. And if they can make this work, whether it's a fraction of a stock or a fraction of real estate, or a full stock, or whatever it is, it's going to be backed by a liquid asset, a real world asset. And that will stabilize the coin. Now, right now, it's sitting at 30 cents. Yeah, you know what? I didn't go over all the stats for it. So right now, it's sitting at 30 cents a coin. It's got a $23 million market cap, circulating supply of 77 million, and a total supply of 400 million. And you can check them out at latoken.com. I don't know. There's so much up in the air, and I think this is one of those long-term things. So I don't know how much higher it's going to go from 30 cents. There's just too many questions to be answered to predict where this price is going to go.
Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, Prater, tell me about Agrello DLT.
All right. Well, Agrello, currently they're trading at about 31 cents. They're trading on Binance, Hit BTC, and Yobit. Or at least that's what it said on CoinMarketCap. To be completely honest, I could not find it on Binance. So that's interesting to start out. But the website is agrello.org. They got a market cap of 27 million, a circulating supply of about 86 million, and a total supply of 130 million. So this is going to be pretty short, sweet, and simple. So kind of Agrello is basically LegalZoom on steroids using the blockchain. So they allow you to create legally binding smart contracts, and it's powered by AI. So it basically just helps you set up a legally binding smart contract, and it uses an AI counselor to make it super simple on you to set up these contracts.
That's a counselor that adds and subtracts for you.
Exactly. That's the blockchain. It's that ledger. So their token is actually Delta, and that allows you to employ the Agrello platform and kind of perform various tasks on there. So yeah, I mean, that's it. It basically just allows you to make legally binding smart contracts. Now they're based out of Estonia, and the backing company, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a legal company that has been in Estonia for quite a while. Combined experience of 45 years in the tech-friendly Estonian legal system. So yeah, I mean, it can do anything from, sublets, carpools, just any kind of smart contract that you can think with, freelancer or
dude,
contractor.
That is super cool. Can you imagine, like, if you like something as kind of, I don't know a better word, but icky, right, than a sublease, and so you don't know this other person, your grandma died or whatever, and you got to move out of your apartment in the middle of your contract, and you put an ad on Craigslist, and you don't know this person. It would be pretty badass to have them bound to a smart contract, for a sublease
that is legally binding.
Yeah, and wouldn't even, because the smart contract, I mean, the legally binding part is almost irrelevant. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's better that it's legally binding, but also the moment they move out or whatever, that contract kicks in, and you get paid, or they get paid, or however you guys want to write it up. It's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, their concept is simple, but it seems useful So, I mean, I definitely one of the better 3-on-3s I've looked at. I haven't done a whole lot of research into the rest of it. I know they have a beta product out, so they don't have an actual product out yet. But definitely one that I'm going to keep an eye on for probably quite a while, though.
No, very cool. All right, my coin is Gambit coin. The symbol is GAM, as in the nickname for your grandmother, Gam Gam. It's at $14.07. The website, nobody knows what the website is, so we've looked
That's
up the website.
because it doesn't exist. So I may have done more research than you on this coin, but so what's really
it's not unlikely.
What's really fishy is like they have a Twitter handle called @CryptoGambit, and then on their Twitter page there's a link to cryptogambit.org. But if you click that link, it doesn't go to cryptogambit.org. It goes to bitcointalk.org, which is a forum, and then it talks about it. Now, it has a lot of information on it, but it just seems really sketchy that they don't have a website, and they lie about a website that doesn't exist.
Well, so no, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt on this.
It's definitely going to the moon.
I'm saying, well, first of all, it's obviously going to the moon. Second of all, it's possible that these people are just living in the year 2020, right? And websites are a thing of the past, and all you need is a social media account, and you need a Facebook page, you need a Twitter page, you need some Instagram action, and then you got a couple of forums where you reach out and speak to the people directly. I'm really, really hoping that that's what's going on. Maybe the Gambit coin is it just has no room for the superfluous website for people to go to, like they would assume would be there. Again, I'm reaching, but I'm trying to make what I can for them. So. Market cap 17 million, circulating supply 1.2 million, total supply also a question. I don't know the answer to the total supply, but this is what I can tell you about the coin. It's interesting, and the reason that we picked it today is because the coin is specifically designed for investors.
We didn't pick it.
You picked it.
Touche. Okay, so this is the coin that I am responsible for, and I am putting my name on as reference to the fact that it has no website and no total value.
Spokesman for Gambit coin.
This may be the most anytime any person has ever said the word Gambit coin in a 20-minute period. Although they are worth $14.07. But even on that, I mean, I think it's a deflationary coin, so it's one of those coins where they burn their own coins once they get them back.
I always like those, actually.
Well, it's cool because it makes the price go up, but it's also, I think it can be misleading. Those coins can be misleading because if you track them over a period of time, you're like, oh shit, their price is going up significantly. But did their value go up? I mean, there's less of them, and that's why it went up. It's not like more people are buying them in the marketplace. They're creating that growth look.
The circulating supply is pretty low too. I mean, 1.2 million circulating supply. That's one of the lower ones I've seen, other than the one where there's just one coin.
Well, they're burning all these damn things. Is that the coin with one?
It's 250,000, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't compete with Mooncoin. That's all that you need to know. So what you need to know about Gambit is that when you sign up with Gambit, this is directly from their website. So I'm going to read this word for word. You can tell me if you think this was written by a natural English speaker. By signing up with Gambit, users can get discounts on your trading fees and a small commission from Gambit. Probably not. These commissions are used to lend liquidity to the Gambit markets and to pay developers to create new trading instruments for all. Gambit is one of the – this is another one. This is another kind of obscure point on their website. Gambit is one of the top 10 affiliates for numerous cryptocurrency exchanges and brokers. Okay.
What do those words mean?
So is decentralized talk. Experienced crypto investors share their private charts and information on the platform that are not available anywhere else. So if you have invested, just to get this clear, if you are one of the badass investors who invested in this coin with no website or total supply, I get to see your charts.
I feel like they just got a bunch of words that have to do with like cryptocurrency and stuck them together into sentences, and we're like, that sounds great.
Yes, like this is written by a bot. Yes, I feel we need to get Ivan back on here and then talk about to see if artificial intelligence is capable of writing a
white paper.
The sad thing is, artificial intelligence would sound better than that.
Yeah, and they don't even have a white paper.
Yes, this reminds me of on Family Guy, the two guys from like Sweden that could be there like great job, friend. Everything. So they also have custom bots. Okay, indicators that they're continually being developed to give a competitive edge. So here's the other thing. Okay, Gambit often secures discounts of up to 60% on popular ICOs. So what they really want you to do is buy whatever coin that it is that you're going to buy, and then they said use the profits from those coins. But they put this like it's a plan, like in their white paper, or it's a protocol for you to follow. And they say buy a coin that's whatever coin that you want to trade. And then with the profits, use those profits to get Gambit. Well, why in the fuck would I want to do that? That's just basically just buying Gambit. Like that's not
because Gambit's going to the moon.
Because it's deflationary.
Yeah, well, they said
only 1.2 million of them.
I mean, these are all very good points.
Oh, it seems super duper legit.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave you guys with this. There's a section on here that says conclusion. Apropos for the situation. With the switch to the ERC20, there will no longer be any proof of deposit, which means that inflation can ultimately be reduced to 0%. As a result of this inflation reduction, more funds will be available for the development of indicators and exchange liquidity. So they're going to get rid of them, burn them, and then there's going to be more available for exchange liquidity. So they talk about using the exchange liquidity for them to hire teachers and teach you how to trade. So basically what they're saying is go into Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin with the profits of Bitcoin, give them to Gambit, and then Gambit will use those with a technical term of liquidity. In other words, they're going to cash it out and pay their people with it. And the price of the coin is going to go up for you because they're burning them.
There's the good, the bad, and the ugly in these 3-on-3 fast breaks. We see all kinds.
Well, I was actually just reading Gambit while y'all were talking, and what I see is that they're not really looking for big investors. I could be wrong. It's more that they want you to use that coin within their small community, and be part of their private trading group. So if you're looking to get into a trading group and basically share your knowledge with the other people, they want you to get in there and use the Gambit token as you're trading with everybody else. So,
I don't know what that means. I'm trading with the Gambit coin. What does that mean? I was buying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they want you to do that, but
to me, it sounds like it's almost like a what are those websites that are popular for people to you basically just donate to somebody's idea, like a GoFundMe page. It's basically like a GoFundMe for this investor warehouse. But the problem with these to me is that instead of just saying, "Hey, we're a fucking GoFundMe page," and we'd like you to donate to us, the issue that I have, or the thing that I take issue with the most, is the trying to wrap it in technical terminology and trying to wrap it in some formula for you to have some kind of success and get on board with these big whales that are out there trading. and it's almost like a little too much for me. All righty, guys, let's take a look at our coin of the week challenge. Unfortunately, I'm still in second place with $633.50 out of a $700 investment over the last 7 weeks. Heston is at $656.36, our leader. And Prater is almost $100 in the hole at $604.60 on a $700 investment. HODL totals. So our weekly investment is the coin of the week, assuming that we sold it every Sunday before the next coin was purchased. And the HODL total is the assumption that we have held this coin from the moment that we bought it 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 weeks ago, and now are reaping the benefits of where it's at, having never sold it, holding on, not losing. So I'm at last place, dead last at $513.85. That's going to change rapidly with this airdrop. Heston is in first place once again at $634.41. And Prater is in middle place for the HODL. Moved up from last place last week into the middle at $619.78. Actually beating the shit out of me by about $100.
I think I was still in second place on the HODL last week because I only made $2 this week. Although that $2, may I say, put me in for the win this week in the weekly challenge. I mean, I guess that's not saying much, but I'll take my small victories here.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that week. Week 7. So I picked Ethereum Classic at $36. It went all the way up to $29.98. Skyrocketed to the moon.
You know, me and Heston were talking about, because they're about to have the airdrop with Callisto. If that would have happened in the middle of the week or before the end of the podcast, would you have gotten those coins as your weekly? It hasn't happened yet. I'm actually watching it right now.
Yeah, I think it happens tomorrow, right?
Well, it happens at block 5,500,000, and they are currently at block 5,497,216.
Oh, wait, so we still got time. So before, I mean, we're recording this, guys, right now at 9:29 p.m. I don't know. So we're you know, I guess I got till midnight. I don't know how we're gonna. I don't know if I could stretch that.
Maybe, but I don't think it's gonna happen till tomorrow. Anyways.
Well, there's a big dip in it right now. Everybody's getting ready for this Callisto airdrop. So we'll see. I got it picked again for next week. We'll go into that in a second. Hesto, you did Neo, $120 down to $119.
A little bit of a dip, but I'm okay with it. Man, I wish that we would have recorded this like 2 days ago when I was up like 17%, but you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. IOTA was Dustin's pick at $1.84.
With the win.
With the win, $190. So, is this your first win, P?
No, it's my second win.
Second win?
Maybe. No, my second win. And then I came in second. I had 1 week that just murdered me, and that was Tether. I played it safe, and I got destroyed.
Also, Rivane. I don't know. That helped. Week 6.
And it's still hurting.
I just want to point out on week 3, all of us lost greater than 50% on OMG, Sia Coin, and Stellar. So this week's coin of the week, I got Ethereum Classic once again, waiting for that airdrop. We're at $29.98, hoping for the big pop. We'll see how it turns out next week. Hesto, what you got?
This week I'm going with Icon. If nobody knows what Icon is, it's basically a blockchain for the blockchains. They're doing kind of what Arc is doing and what WanChain is doing. They're trying to connect the blockchains into one. We won't go into all the technicals about it, but I am personally invested in Icon, so I like it for the long term. I also like it this week. It's been down, so hoping for a bounce back.
Awesome. Prater, you got Litecoin. Gutsy. Alrighty, Prater, you picked Litecoin. Pretty gutsy call.
Yes, sir. Litecoin's in a wedge right now, and I wouldn't say it's a descending wedge, so I don't know if it's going to pop up or down, but you know, it's trading in a pretty small window right now. So I think it's going to pop throughout the week somewhere, up or down. I don't really know. We'll see what happens.
I think a lot of that relies on the hype surrounding LightPay. It's a big deal, and a lot of people are liking that. So more good news comes out about LightPay. I think it's going to go up.
Well, yeah,
hey, real quick, can I make a comparison between Roger Ver and Charlie Lee? I mean, it's funny. Like I never heard anybody make this comparison before, but it dawned on me some point around yesterday that Charlie Lee is definitely the hype man for Litecoin. He's just a lot more subtle about it, and I think he's a lot more it seems like he's a lot more straightforward, or like he's more genuine about it. And then Roger Ver is more of like a carnival barker. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, like, do you guys find that to be an accurate comparison?
Yeah, I mean, but as far as Charlie Lee goes, if you created something, wouldn't you hype it? Wouldn't you be the cheerleader? Roger Ver, I think, he didn't create Bitcoin Cash. He just thought Bitcoin Cash would be more successful than Bitcoin because it's faster transactions and all those things. So I think.
Well, I can tell you, if I really believed in it, I wouldn't sell all of them.
True. I had a big problem with him doing that. I think he just unloaded on everybody. I just don't. I lost a lot of faith in Litecoin when Charlie did that, and a lot of the Litecoin fans were like, "Oh yeah, do you, man? Like, go for it, bro." I wasn't one of those. I was like, dude, he just sold all of his baby. That's not a good sign, guys.
Yeah, I don't understand. And he continues to hype it. I mean, I guess it's his project, so maybe there is something. I mean, I guess time will tell. But I don't know. It was interesting. I haven't really spent a lot of time with Litecoin since I first really got into crypto. So it's neat to see you pick it this week.
Yeah, I use it mostly just to transfer funds between exchanges because it's quick, it's easy, and it's not super volatile. So when I'm buying in at it, it's usually staying around about the same when I'm transferring it. But I am trying another technical trade. I'm not a technical trader, so it did not go well on Revane. I'm still hurting on that one, so we'll see how this turns out.
I like it. You got to keep trying. You got to keep trying. And that's what everybody's doing here, right? Everybody's learning more about cryptocurrencies. Everybody's learning more about trading. We're all growing together, right? Because this is something that's starting out of nothing. So it's a great time to get on board, guys. It's a great time to learn about cryptocurrencies. It's a great time to learn about technical analysis and trading. We're going to have more and more of that technical analysis and trading information. Again, not for your investment purposes, but for your entertainment and informational purposes. We're going to implement more of that into the show over the course of the next coming months. So look forward to that. We're excited about some of the information that Dustin is learning for the time being. Well, guys, I think that about wraps everything up for this episode of The D. Be sure to tune in next week when we go guest list. That's right. We're naked on the radio. So we're going back to the basics of Decentralized Talk. It's going to be just the three of us chit-chatting, hanging out, having fun with you. So check us out. Be sure to send us comments at Decentralized Talk Podcast. On Twitter, it's at DTalk Podcast. Facebook at DTalk Podcast. And we're on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and now we have a brand new Instagram account. So be sure to hang out, pay attention. And we'll see you next time, guys. You guys got anything else?
I want to say thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you next week.